want to talk about 8th real quick. And we'll go, okay.
Okay. Returning. There we go.
Oh. Forgot to properly start my own fucking stream. If I turn that off. Okay, welcome to Depths of Gaming episode 18. It is now
Hello, comrade.
I'm here again.
Hello, Jerry.
Yes.
A special guest.
Guest star Jerry the General.
How are you today,
Who
good
of
sir?
course wins most inspired screen handle 2017.
Oh, well, thank you. Anyway, so we got a lot on our plates today, don't we, guys?
Oh yeah, eh. We have a
Oh
lot.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
The mini
indeed.
Nintendo is being revived as the mini NSES.
Oh,
NSES?
SNES, good sir.
The Minisnes.
Super Nintendo Entertainment System is being revitalized as a Super Nintendo Entertainment System classic, just like the NES classic. Yep, mini. Oh, it's going to be even smaller, and it's going to be even better than before.
Well, first of all, you're not going to need to change cartridges. That's one thing.
Applause to that.
However, as an interesting story about this one. The mini SNES was announced around the beginning of this week. The very next day, they were all sold out.
I can't even pre-order one right now. I'm pretty pissed.
Bullshit happened there.
Yes. However, calm down, everybody. Nintendo promised that there's going to be more. So I'm assuming that means around 50 units more.
One thing Nintendo is not good at is creating to appease demand.
Well, nobody likes the damn
really
Wii,
strange.
you or the Wii Switch.
Actually, you know what? What Nintendo is doing right now is they're very good at creating an artificial demand, basically artificial scarcity.
Mm-hmm.
And they're doing great at that, but boy, does it piss everyone off.
Do you care to elaborate on artificial scarcity? Like, do you care to elaborate on the definition?
It's the concept of supply and demand. Is when
well,
something
besides the supply and demand,
well,
but
no,
like
this is purely tied into it. Please let me continue.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is because
Go ahead.
the supply is so low and the demand is so high. They've quite purposely gauged the numbers so that the demand is
always high.
Is always high. However, with supply always being low, they're completely forgetting about the fact that they need the supply to be at a certain level for there to be a constant.
Yes,
this is true.
So
they are perfectly capable.
Imagine a regular supply and demand chart with one arm going this way, an arm going that way. Now imagine the Nintendo supply chart, which looks like a child on both ends started scribbling in random directions, and they try. Not do, but they try to make it to the other side of the page, but not always. That's effectively what's going on here.
Yes, basically, Nintendo has all the power to increase the supply, but they're purposefully not doing that in order to wind up prices above what is reasonable. And
well,
they're
doing
that
that power to the scalpers. goddammit.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they're.
I paid $150 for my NES Classic.
Yep, precisely, and that's basically what's happening. They are creating a black market basically for their items. if they want to do that, I guess it's all it's up to them. It's their product after all.
Well, it's well within their power.
Yes. However, that leaves a lot of bad faith, but a lot of bad juju.
Especially if you know, if we see in the future that they want to revamp the N64, you know, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a natural progression. There's NES, SNES, N64, maybe.
Yeah,
I
maybe.
would love to.
Question mark.
I would love to see a classic PlayStation from Sony. That would be awesome.
I would like to see a better version of the classic Sega, honestly, because I know that the Sega Classic is really a thing, but I was looking at it, and from what I understood, and audience, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's unmoddable, one, so you can't basically hack it to add your own ROMs to it, for example. But two, the titles they selected was like almost like they didn't pay attention to their audience. Like Sonic, all the Sonic series is on there, and Mortal Kombat is on there. That is it. Sega has so many more good titles than just Sonic and Mortal Kombat.
I guess, but it might be that there are licensing issues.
I could see that as well, but at the same time, I mean, like these licenses go back way far.
Oh yeah.
Yes, however, according to Disney,
is a very long and complicated thing.
And according to Disney, the IP, intellectual property, belongs to the copyright holder for the length of the life of the creator plus 70 years.
Plus 70 years.
Yes, plus 70 years, according to Disney. I'm saying Disney because Disney lobbied for
well, they're the ones that pulled this shit, yeah.
Yes. They lobbied for extension. And basically, the idea of copyright law, right, is to protect the work of the artist and to make sure that, to give him the incentive to create more art, right? Yeah. However, what I have problem with is there is no incentive in the universe that can make an artist create more art after they are dead.
This is true. But at the same time, you know, a lot of people have perfected the art styles of others. You know, the God, what's his name?
Fan arts, right?
Well, fan art for one, but the guy that cut his ear off.
Van Gogh.
Oh, Van Gogh?
Van Gogh, yes, Van Gogh. Thank you. They're making a whole movie based on Van Gogh, but every single frame of the movie is based on artists that have mastered the art of doing Van Gogh's art style.
Mm-hmm.
And
I believe that who was it? Picasso once said that, oh, everyone is making copies of Picasso, even I do.
But I mean, like, even to a video game, you know, like, yeah, I don't appreciate a really crappy ported third-party pirated video game, you know, to the next person. But at the same time, there's a lot of good video games out there for the Sega Genesis and also for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System that could be added that they didn't include. No, honestly, you know, I understand that they can only include so many, and most of them are exclusively Nintendo titles. And I don't know. I just feel that Nintendo's really cutting themselves off with not, you know, making agreements with more systems. I mean, honestly, that's the more money they have to share. But at the same time,
speaking about money and sharing, let's
go for it.
Let's step forward. Because, you know, traditionally, when a game does well on Kickstarter and goes forward, that says a lot good about them. However, sometimes there are issues.
Yes, let's...
Battlefield 4. Sorry. Go ahead.
Let's talk about Alex Mauer. A wonderful shitstorm that happened at the beginning of this week and ended this week as well.
That's why I kind of like doing our show on Sundays, because it's like the last week tonight of video game news, only nowhere near as good.
Yes. We don't have the comedy aspect yet.
Or any sort of budget.
Yes, precisely. Anyway, Miss Alex Mauer. To clue you in, Jerry. Miss Alex Mauer is a chiptune creator. Basically, she created a soundtrack for a game called Star Mazer. 2 R's there. And it was it's a shoot 'em up, a shmup. It's a very nice game, very colorful, and a lot of people liked it. There were a lot of gameplays, let's plays of it, and there was a situation because Miss Alex Mauer had a little bit of a health issue during the creation of the game. She wasn't able to complete her work on Star Mazer, and however, the company responsible, Imigo Softworks, was compensated for her. I believe that they paid her 37 out of 47K for her work. However, Miss Mauer disagreed. She did not want 37K. She wanted the full contractually obligated money that she was promised in the contract. And because she didn't get it, she assumed that the contract is null and void. Therefore, the copyright for her music still belongs to her. So she decided to DMCA all the YouTubers that make the Let's Play of the Star Mazer. And then said, "Oh, don't complain to me. Go complain to Imigo Softworks if you want to have this DMCA taken off."
Oh, you forgot the other thing she did.
Well, what?
Well,
please
keep
continue.
saying she, but those watching the screen knows the truth. They went to Steam and got the game ripped off for a day.
Oh,
because they went to Steam and was like, I own every part of this game except for the games I don't, the parts I don't own. And they're like, oh, gee, we don't need evidence. Rip.
It's almost like when somebody claims your account on Facebook as a fraudulent account, or i.e. somebody's impersonating you, and Facebook automatically deletes your account, which personally happened to me.
Yeah, that's happened. That happened with a lot of my content before.
I hate that kind of attitude. For example, we can make a video on YouTube, right, and have like 10 video is about an hour long. There's 15 there's 15 seconds where someone is singing like "Happy Birthday to You," and
that rips
suddenly
down. Yeah,
and the entire video is down because someone says, "Oh, this is copyrighted material," and now the entire video belongs to me. Sometimes they can put advertisements on it and basically take the money, the revenue from the entire thing.
Yeah,
which is bullshit. And
they never talk to the person that's being affected. They always go straight around them, and that's
it's auto all the way.
And that's part of why this keeps happening. And we don't have much to add, I believe, about Alex.
Well, I have a little bit of an opinion to throw out there.
What's up?
Okay, sure.
So with all that's transpired from Chris, from what you said, and from Robbie, from what you've said as well, I do personally believe that somebody who's put, I would say, 80 to 90% of their heart, mind, and soul into creating something, and then they're like, you know what, you're not part of this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'd feel pretty what's the word? Pissed, disjointed, disconcerted. There's another word for it. But basically, I'd feel pretty disconnected, but at the same time, vengeful. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so, I'd want to go in and be like, you know what? They can't use my what I've built for them. They can't use that because they discontinued me from this. They can't have what I created for them because I made that for them.
And while that might make sense on a personal level, it's contracted work.
Yes,
it's contracted work. But if I provide contracted work, and you're going to continue to use my contracted work, even though you've quote unquote fired me, I expect the rest of my contract to be paid out because you're receiving all this profit off my work.
Well, yeah, technically, Imigo Softworks. But basically, I was listening to this lawyer talk about this, and the way the contract law in America at least works is that there are very, very, extremely very few cases in which the contract can be nullified completely.
Yeah. They're
like
built to be very
robust.
Robust. Yeah.
Yep.
And for example, the only way contract can be nullified is in some cases when marriage is involved. There are in all cases when a contract is with an underage person, or when contract involves illegal work. So these are the only cases in which the contract can be completely nullified.
Yeah, these are loopholes where, you know, personally as a creator, I would feel cheated.
Well,
because I created all this content for you.
Yes.
And now you're saying, I'm going to take this, finish what I'm doing with it, and you don't get a cut.
Well, here's the thing. They did get a cut. They got 37 out of the 47 that the contract called for. And according to them, they paid for all... Because how this works is they put a dollar amount to each deliverable, and that makes up the entire cut. And so they produced enough deliverables to get that cut.
Okay, so every ounce of what they do is measurable monetarily.
Yes.
Okay, so that makes sense then. Okay, so I'll get off my high horse then.
No, it's okay.
The reason we're jumping on Alex is because they got paid and they still cut things and they still fucked around because they feel they should have been paid more for work they didn't do.
Yeah.
Yes, and even though there's also another aspect, there is the fact that Alex was attacking YouTubers and sicking them on Imigo Softworks, and basically even though she even if she had the rights to the music that was in the game, that doesn't give her the right to basically interfere with other people's lives to go after Imigo Softworks.
Yeah.
Her quarrel is with Imigo Softworks, not with YouTubers. And because of that, she actually did something that is called in the law, she soiled her hands, which means that in pursuit of justice and reparations, she did something that was unjust, and therefore made it much more difficult for her to win any kind of legal proceedings.
Well, she stepped over the line in attacking media, which you're not supposed to do.
She basically tried vigilantism and realized it wasn't for her, but her name was soiled in the process.
Well, it was soiled,
and so now
that they changed their name and are now living somewhere in the middle of Philadelphia under the name Lexi.
Yes, all that attack on the YouTubers also generated a lot of vitriol in the fan bases of those YouTubers, who basically went after Alex with death threats, rape threats, and so forth. Basically, legal threats on her life.
I'm sorry, but a rape threat is unacceptable. Period. Dot.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, we're not condoning that shit at
all. As far as I'm aware, no threats are okay. Period.
That's
you are yes. People are free to disagree. People are free to tell me that I'm stupid, but whenever they are crossing the line into the legal territory, like when they're basically going after my life of my family, life of basically threatening rape and other illegal stuff, that's basically unacceptable on all levels.
Yes.
And she had to endure that, Miss Alex. I'm calling her Miss, but as you all know, it's
really
different. Well, it's
no.
It's a guy who went through a sex change. So
okay, so Miss Alex. Okay, yeah, that's fine. That's Miss Alex. Whatever they prefer.
Yes, and what I wanted to say. Yes, Miss Alex basically went down the hill, psychological hill, because of all those happenstances, and went even so far as to threaten. She herself threatened the lives of YouTubers who were reporting on that. On that story, like Sid Alpha, who was literally threatened, his life was threatened by her.
Yeah, not cool.
And not cool.
Not cool at all.
Yes. However, again, Miss Alex, from what I've heard, got the help that she needed. She, Imigo Softworks, along with Mr. French, which is the your favorite copyright attorney, got her professional help. Yeah. Yes.
Cool.
Provided her with professional help. Yeah.
I'd like to continue us on.
Yes.
Palmer Luckey.
Yes.
So this is the guy that got fired from Oculus. My remembrance of the situation is very, very slight, but the footnotes of it were that it wasn't entirely sure if he had the legal standing to work at Oculus.
Yes. There was a lot of info.
Because at the last place he worked, there was a clause in the contract saying you're not allowed to go into a competing business within so-and-so time frame, and they did it.
I'm going to stand out of this one.
Oh, fair enough. We're going to go through this pretty quick because there's not much to say except for he's pretty upset about that because this happened right after the lucrative Facebook deal. And
yes.
And so he got X'd out of Oculus and his name in the industry basically took...
Yes, and because he's so salty. And he did something interesting.
He's so upset about this that he gave $2,000 to a Patreon project called Revive, which is a hacker initiative to get games that typically only work with the Oculus to be able to be worked with using a Vive.
Yes. HTC Vive. It's an amazing story. I love it for one one reason. I do not consider peripherals for the PC to have something acceptable as walled gardens. I hate the idea that Oculus creates a walled garden in which they completely isolate games to further their product. Imagine if Philips created monitors, and Philips monitors were the only monitors that Crysis games were allowed to play on.
Yeah,
that would cause an outrage because monitors are peripherals, and same is with Oculus. Oculus is a peripheral. It is not a console, and I'm going to fight tooth over nail with all the people who want to argue with me on that, because I hate the idea of someone basically creating a peripheral that is worthless on its own, and chooses which games I can and cannot play on my computer. Fuck you, Oculus.
Well, that and this strategy is what makes me not want to buy an Oculus, because with an Oculus I only get these games, where with the Vive I can play theoretically any mainstream game, because it's either Oculus or Vive, and if Vive works for more games, well then duh.
Yes, precisely. I also like the Vive because they have an open SDK. Yes, they have an open SDK. Everyone is allowed to introduce games on Vive, and they have a standard set of controls for the Vive. So even the games that are specifically made for the Vive can be played on other headsets, even Oculus.
And in fact,
that's a good thing, though, right?
Well, yes, because that means that anyone can make a VR game, and any the mainstream headsets can work for it, which is great for business.
Great for business, but then poor for quality.
You're always going to get that issue whenever you have an open system. For instance,
well,
Steam is currently washing crap.
True.
Yeah, it's not really poor for quality, because you have to realize that back in the day, in the 80s, the same situation happened. Basically, Intel was the only really producer on the market that had that had any sort of presence. There were others, and what's worse, programs created for one computer weren't compatible with the other, and that was horrendously difficult for people, even business people, to actually exchange files, to talk to each other, to send messages, to do their work. There was a shit ton of proprietary formats that were incompatible with each other, and caused a lot of chaos. This is the reason why we created common environments, and Intel became created a standard that every chip producer could use, and and subsequently every program that worked on Intel worked on other computers.
Mm-hmm.
And I really do not want the repeat from the 80s, because that's going to be horrible.
I don't think anybody wants that repeat.
In some way, it still lasts, that divide, because of Apple, but
that's Apple.
Well, I don't think the world can survive another flock of seagulls.
Another Y2K.
For that, I would think.
I ran so far away.
Well,
all right.
Another Y2K Y3K will happen in 900 years, so I think we're good on that.
We have some
Don't
time.
startle the people.
Moving on, there's this game called We Happy Few, and it is gearing up for release.
Oh my god, I've been waiting for this!
And so this is a game that is one of the good arguments for early access. It came in strong with the Kickstarter. I
think it was actually one of the last few Greenlights before Greenlight got ousted.
What was? I don't think it was.
If I remember correctly, it was greenlighted.
Yeah, but it was greenlighted a long time ago.
Oh, a very long time ago. Because I was playing this back in early 2016, back while I was in Kuwait.
Mm-hmm.
While I was deployed.
So why you say it was one of the last on the Greenlight?
Because for my current knowledge, I believe Greenlight has been ousted.
But just only now.
Yeah, there's been plenty of other games on Greenlight since then, buddy.
I would say one of the last few good Greenlights then.
Sure.
Sure. Okay.
Whatever.
Subnautica was good.
Yeah, Subnautica.
Well, Subnautica, yes, Subnautica is outstanding. but to go back to
talking about green light.
No, not the green light.
Well, We Happy Few. So
We Happy Few. Yes, there we go.
The big thing is they've been releasing content updates that have been a mixture of new content and fixing the bugs. And the thing about We Happy Few is it works mostly off of random generation and procedural generation. And so as a consequence, a lot of the older builds would suffer from these geographically impossible or stupid areas. That's been ironed out from build to build. Every now and then I do see some stupid generations, but they admit that they're working on it.
Yep.
And a while ago they released the Maidenholm update, and that's what gave us 2 village islands. And I believe it also fixed the ending island to get to the parades. And they've been telling us that the parades will be coming. However, the reason they're not putting the parades in the next update and instead going for the release being the parades is because it's deeply tied to the story of the game. And as you may or may not know, the We Happy Few that we've been playing is not the same as the We Happy Few that's going to be released. And that's because the story mode has been heavily trimmed out of what we've been playing.
So are the parades supposed to be...
It's the city district.
Okay, so the city district where everybody's hopped up on Joy.
Well, it's where the rich people are.
Well, the rich people or the free people? Question mark.
No, the rich people, like the people that can afford to like be in office buildings and eat real food all the time and shit.
But the biggest question I think a lot of viewers may ask is, are you talking about the areas where Joy is still readily available, or are you talking about the areas where Joy is non-existent?
It's the first one.
So where Joy is readily available because
well, the parades are like the core of the new society.
Yeah, but I mean, because I've played We Happy Few all the way through a couple times.
Yeah.
And in the ending, in the original We Happy Few, and spoiler alert, plug your ears now. But in the ending, you literally take a small boat out. You get away from the island.
You're going. You're boating to the parade district.
Oh, is that what that's called?
That's what that is, yeah.
Okay, I was just knowing that all that is the end. So you're boating your way to the parades.
Yeah, because that's where you're going, is you're going to the parades district.
So Joy doesn't exist out there technically. Well, as far as we know,
everywhere.
Joy doesn't exist out there.
It's the main. It's where the rich people are. There's Joy everywhere.
All right. You may continue. I did not mean to interrupt. I just wanted to clarify.
No, it's fine. That's actually a good question because they don't say that's the parades in the ending.
Yeah, they don't. You just kind of appear there, and everybody's having a good time.
Yeah. The only reason I know it's called the parades is because I've been reading all of the dev diaries and shit.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean that's where you find all that secret shit.
Yeah, that's where you get the explanations. But carrying on, so there's going to be one more update called the Joy update, and that's going to be another big influx of content. May or may not get the Jubilators. We'll see. They're these stupid like cars that they drive around. Those are actually supposed to just be in the parades, I think. I don't know. And then after they do the Joy update within a few months, they should release the game.
That's cool.
And what that says to me is that is that it's true that the parades must be the like second half of the game.
May I ask you questions about the game, because I haven't really played it, but I heard a lot about it. I saw the Let's Plays of it.
Sure.
It seems like a lot of fun, and from what I know, you wake up in a bunker.
Well,
you go out of the.
I'll fill this in for you. Your name is Arthur, and you are a redactor at the Ministry of Truth. That's not what it's actually called, but that's what you're doing. As you're looking through old newspapers, and you're saying whether or not they should be okayed, and then you come to a piece of newspaper that is about you and your brother, and that inspires Arthur to go off of his joy and become a downer, which is what they call anyone who isn't taking their drugs.
I see. Okay.
And in the ensuing rush, you get trapped in the sewer system, and that forces you over to the Downer Islands, where the game begins.
I see.
Yeah. So you get forced out of common, quote unquote, common livelihood because you decided not to take your pills. But there's a little bit deeper of a story here because there's a World War II story woven in with you and your brother.
And it's not exactly said what it is, but something really bad happened.
Yeah, exactly. Something really bad happens, and you have vivid memories of it because your brother starts, or the character that you play starts hearing the sounds of war, bombs dropping and machine guns firing and stuff, and all of a sudden he's like, no, and you have the choice. You need to take your joy and forget about it, and that literally leads to a game over, which I think is almost a worse cop-out, as in, spoiler alert for anybody that plays,
it's a cop-out, but it's kind of funny because you get to look on the forums, and there are people like, the game keeps just restarting when I do this one decision. What's going on? I don't know how to think for myself.
What I like about it was they put the option in there. What I like about it is
it's important about the options.
What I like about it is that they put the option in there that, what if I didn't do this? For example, what if Morgan Freeman did not decide to do this experiment that day and led to the whole, Combine Wars.
Yeah.
Yes.
Imagine if Morgan Freeman didn't show up to work that day. He's like, I'm sick. I'm just going to hang out in my office today.
Those would have been very different games.
That's almost the plot for Freeman's Mind.
That's true. That is kind of the plot to Freeman's Mind. But I'm super excited for the next couple months in We Happy Few, because this is a game that I've been following, and for the longest time I was championing Clockwork Empires as the good early access game until they fumbled so hard halfway through. Because they kept going back to the game and going, let's rip out giant sections of the game and make this about building buildings. And they completely removed the game further and further away from the colonists. And it was so stupid. Where this game has instead done the opposite, and they went, here's this awesome procedural generation that is the core of our game, let's keep making it better. They didn't give up halfway through like Clockwork Empires did. They kept going.
Yes. One more question about joy. From what I know, the joy is supposed to make you not only happy, but also see the world differently, right?
Yes.
Like, I remember seeing in one of the trailers that
that's the beginning of
joy,
the game, yeah.
Yeah, on Joy you see like a wonderful party being thrown at you, and in front of you a juicy piece of turkey, but once the joy wears off, you see that you're basically eating rats. Yeah.
It's a piñata, but it's a live piñata.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the key thing about joy, is it alters your perceptions, it alters your ethos, and it most importantly makes you forget.
Yeah, and my question is, why would the rich people that live on Parade Island would need joy? Because I'm assuming that they
here's
have
the thing. is we don't know whether or not they're taking their joy.
Well, we don't know if joy's even a thing to them.
Yeah, we don't know.
I see.
That's where the horror movie comes in.
Yep, because you think she got away, but then you realize, wait a minute.
Okay.
So that's why We Happy Few is such a good game, because they have a good story that is interfaced with the game, and they do what people commonly think isn't possible, which is make a procedural game have a good story. People commonly think that isn't possible.
Well, because a lot of people have bad taste in their mouths from SCP Containment Breach, a procedurally generated game that was supposed to be good, and honestly, it tanked ass.
Oh yeah, you stopped hearing about it after a while because it tanked.
Well,
really?
The only new news that I've heard about SCP Containment Breach is it is coming out on the Unity engine. That's the only new news.
Oh wow, and that's not good because that means
it looks pretty. It really looks pretty.
Well, all right. So there's that, and I'm going to quickly fade to this background because you wanted to talk about Warhammer real quick.
Oh yes, please.
And so we've both, me and Jerry, we've been reading the books. Him more so recently because he actually bought them. But I know that I already love the new edition because it made all the changes that I wanted to happen. In that I wanted vehicles to be viable, I wanted melee to be viable, that sort of thing.
So, on my side of this whole thing, in my opinion, the new edition, yes, it's made a lot of corrections that me and a lot of other players have had concerns with, i.e., simplifying the all-over turn, for example. So the all-over turn goes from, I want to say like 6 steps, where it's like beginning, or it's movement, shooting, psyker, assault 2, and then second morale, and then end phase, and then it just all moved to literally like 4 phases where it's like movement, shooting, attack, movement, shooting, psycher, shooting, and assaulting got bunched up into one.
It's movement, psycher, shooting, and then the fighting phase is a roll up of charging and assault.
There you go. Thank you. So movement, shooting, psycher, assault, and then after assault, you have the morale phase now. So morale got moved to its own phase completely, rather than if your unit took 25% of damage or not. Now it's if your unit took 25% of damage by the end of the turn, it's figured out. Which, yes, makes a lot of sense and is cool, but at the same time, I don't know. I mean, I honestly like it, but at the same time, a lot of other players
kind of topic, because I personally like the new morale system because I thought it was really clunky to have these giant blobs moving back and forth, side to side, because of these morale checks. Having them just take the losses and we narrate them dying or whatever, leaving it up to us, I think that's much better.
I mean, it makes more sense to consolidate it. And that's what I like about it, is it consolidates it. That's the bottom line. But at the same time, for an individual unit that takes that much damage, they should do it on their own and be subject to the morale of, either if they've been commanded by a higher unit and then they fall into the morale of that unit, or if they've been, but again, it's consolidated, and that's what I like about it. Is like the rules used to be spread over like 100 pages, and now they've been consolidated, and this is what I find dumbfounding. The rules of Warhammer 40K have been consolidated to 11 pages, that is 11 pages.
And this was so daunting that while we were playing with the leak materials, we kept going, is there stuff that's not here? And we kept looking for it, but it wasn't to be found because it really did consolidate it.
Yeah, they truly did. Games Workshop has blown my mind. They have blown Necro's mind. We both were blown out of our socks because we both know how Games Workshop works.
Oh, yeah.
And Games Workshop is known for complicating the simplest of things. And to find that when I go through my rule book of 8th edition, there's only really 11 pages that I really need to concentrate on to play the game. Besides, minus my codex for my units. That's a big deal. That's a big thing. They made a big jump, a big change. And also the fact that they're offering these codexes at such a cheap price compared to what they originally were offering them at. Because my codex for Imperium 2, because I play Imperial Guard, I like to play Underdog. Also, I believe Imperial Guard have a lot to prove.
Well, they still
$25 for a codex. What's that, Robbie?
They still exist. That must be a selling point.
Well, I mean, that is a selling point. Duh. But the fact that Imperial Guard, being who they are, regular human beings going to war against all these atrocities that they see in the Milky Way galaxy, from the Dark Eldar to Chaos to the Tau and back. They see all these crazy things, and they still pick up their guns and go to war against everything. And they say, for the Emperor.
With motivation from their commissar.
With a little bit of motivation from commissar, because the commissar can still execute somebody and regain morale of the squad.
I love that rule.
Oh, I love that rule too. And but not to focus on the Imperial Guard. The Space Marines. What I love is the fact that Games Workshop literally took every Space Marine faction and flavor that they have and put them into one book.
Yeah,
is amazing.
Well, the main thing I like, and we and both of us have a friend that said this to me a month ago, is he was an old-time Chaos player, and he was saying there was a time where you could play Chaos and there could be 6 guys playing Chaos and they all have a different looking army that functions differently. That's back. I love it.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love anytime that there's a minus being either a real-time strategy, turn-based strategy, doesn't matter. The more options that you allow to people via faction-wise, so the more factions that are available to everybody makes that game more diverse and also more competitive.
Well, simply put, the reason people like a lot of these MOBAs is because they always add new content every now and then, because eventually people get bored of what
minus on the MOBA. Do not call it a MOBA.
And what now?
I'm going to jump on you. You said MOBA. You said MOBA.
Yeah, I'm not saying Warhammer's a MOBA.
Well, it's not a MOBA because you're not sending MOBA like the primary example of MOBA is
like League of Legends and shit. Yeah, I know.
Well, League of Legends and Dota 1.
Mm-hmm.
So for well, I'm not saying Dota 2 anything. What I'm saying is that Warhammer 40,000 is not a MOBA.
Never said it was.
Well, you just called it a MOBA.
No, I said the thing with MOBAs is they do this, and I'm saying Warhammer 40K, you have all these different units and types. However, the meta for the longest time said, don't use these, they're shit, right?
Okay, I'm sorry for jumping on you.
Oh, it's fine.
I'm sorry for jumping on you.
It's okay, it's the gin talking.
It's the booze.
It's the booze.
It's kind of that same sort of outlook where why the fuck do you have all of this variation if the meta tells you not to use it? And this edition addressed that. It said, you now have an option to use these and they don't suck. and it's like, for instance, we've been going back and forth on the greens.
Well, I have a yes and no to say to that.
Yeah.
Because yes, a lot of the metas have been destroyed thanks to 8th edition, and they will forever be destroyed thanks to the 8th edition. But at the same time, with the stats that have been provided with the current 8th edition, we now face that. For example, primary example in the name of the Imperial Guard is that Ogrins and Bolgrins, amazing soldiers. Their stats have been boosted. They will do damage in the battlefield. They are excellent, but their point cost is still really high compared to, for example, I could take 2 Ogrin squads, so I could take 18 Ogrins, or I could take 18 Bolgrins to the battlefield, or I could take literally 100 conscripts to the battlefield. Now, 100 conscripts at half range times 2, which is the damage, which is the attacks they do, because lasguns at half range.
Rapid fire 1, aren't they?
Exactly. And if I put an order on them with first rank, second rank, which is the one that everybody's been going nuts about lately, that goes from 100 shots to 200 shots.
Well,
but if I take Ogrins and Bolgrins, I do fire on one unit, but I can also apply split fire to them.
Well, no, I'm saying is you can only give the order to a unit.
Well, yeah, I can give the order to a unit of 50 conscripts.
50 shots becomes, no. Oh yeah, it would be 100 shots becomes 200.
Yes, especially if you have a monstrous. So, for example, let's say that you have a monstrous unit coming to my lines. That's 200 shots to that monstrous unit, which statistically speaking, that's a lot of damage.
Balls on your head or anything, but the orc boys have been risen to a similar status of bullshit because Slugga and Choppa, similar bullshit but for melee. Is Slugga and Choppa is they change it so now instead of counting the amount of weapons you physically have on the model and saying, oh well, he has a weapon at each hand, so he gets an attack. You just say, does he have a chainsword / Choppa? Then yes, he gets an extra attack. I love that.
Well, you get extra attack, but you can still only target one unit, which is one thing that I don't like about 8th edition was the fact that they got rid of templates and that you can only target one unit at a time. Even if you're melee, even if you're artillery firing on the enemy, you can only still target one squad at a time because they got rid of the templates. So your Choppas and your Sluggas, your Slugga boys,
they
used to be able to tear squads
to them. There's no it's not unit per unit.
Well, it's not unit per unit, but it's squad per squad. So if your squad of Sluggas attack a squad of my guys and you do more damage than what my guys have to put up against, that's all that's done is because you targeted that unit and you can't continue any further in that turn, which back in 7th edition you could. Because anything that poured over, if you could reach to another unit, you could assault back to that unit.
Oh, that's what you're saying. Oh yeah, they took away the ability to chain charge. They took away that.
Yeah, and same goes for Imperial Guard from my perspective, from artillery, where I have to target a single unit at a time, rather than I'm saying, okay, I'm going to attack these guys, and then see where my blast scatters to, which realistically makes more sense.
You're reminiscing about it, yeah, but the reason
I don't mean to reminisce, but I'm saying realistically it makes more sense. But I'm going on the new edition where I have to target a single unit and hit them, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine. The only part where I have a hitch about it is the flamers. They only do D6 damage, which means I can only hit. Whereas in a flame template back in the day, back in 7th edition,
D6 attacks, yeah.
I could hit up to whoever could fit under the flame template, and it was an automatic hit. But now, yes, I can still hit whoever fits under the flame template, but I can only do D6 attacks. So I can only harm 6 people, rather than harm 8 to 10 to 12 people, whoever could fit under the the template.
It's a balance thing. It was really cheesy that was possible. Like it's.
Well, you gotta realize how weak the Imperial Guard were to the enemy.
Well, that's
because they didn't buff the flamer.
Well,
they didn't buff the flamer at all.
That's my point. Is that the Imperial Guard were really resting on those flamers because they kind of had to in that edition. They don't have to anymore. So it makes no sense to elevate flamers further to godhood when reeling them back was kind of the proper decision in my book.
But what do they have to rest on now? For example,
well, they have their orders, they have their vehicles now, they have their command staff. If you play Cadians, you get the best command staff in the list. Well,
yeah, but still, yeah, Cadia is broken. So Cadia's still suffers.
Cadia is bullshit. Look, and if you don't believe us, look at Pask, and then try to tell us that he's not bullshit.
No. I meant that the Cadia itself is broken.
Like, Cadia's gone.
It's no longer. Yeah.
That's probably why they get the best command staff in the game. Is because, oh, we're sorry, we blew up Cadia. Here's your overpowered units.
All we know is that the Guard stood firm as Cadia broke. Cadia broke before the Guard did.
That's true.
But what I'm really getting at, though, is that Flamers used to be Cadia's main stand against any enemies. No, not any enemies, but against Tau, against Eldar, and against...
How are you going to get close enough to Tau to use your flamethrowers?
Well, that's the whole point, is because Tau can't survive in close range. So the whole point is if you are playing Imperial Guard and you're fighting a Tau enemy,
or Bolgrins or something that can deflect the blows.
Bolgrins can't cover that distance, and Rough Riders don't have enough stats to even do anything against Tau Fire Warriors. I'm not kidding. Check out 7th edition. You'll see what I'm talking about.
We're not in 7th edition.
But what I'm saying though is that with the new edition, the Flamers really don't do too much like they used to. They got nerfed really hard.
Well,
it's not just for Imperial Guard.
Point out, that's for anything that uses templates like
anything that has a flamer. Period. So anything Imperium of Man, anything Xeno, and anything.
Speak for
anything
yourself.
Chaos.
Burna Boys for life. Burna Boys are ridiculous with that because
But your Burna Boys hoard flamers.
Yeah.
Whereas a regular Cadian squadron can hold one flamer.
A flamer, yeah. Well, it's not meant to hold up the entire squad.
I have to have special weapon teams with flamers to do anything.
Yeah, but they're not.
And that's a possibility of 1 to 18.
But what I'm resting on is
sorry, 3 to 18. 3 to 18.
Is that we don't. Your flamers were overpowered in 7th. I get that. But
they weren't overpowered. They were equivalent.
You can blow up whole squads auto hit with the template. That is overpowered to me. I will never get over the one time I saw Imperial Guard player march his block of conscripts up to a Tau mech, and he just went, template, you're gone. You're gone.
Well, that's the luck of the that's the luck of the role. Honestly, you gotta realize
it's part of the
luck of the role.
Template covered every soldier in that squad.
The luck of the role has been made shittier for us.
Yeah,
and not only that,
with your
but
flamer only strategy that worked in 7th.
Well, I'm not talking about flamer only strategy because you gotta realize the only reason I picked flamers was because I knew who I was going up against. For example, if you're picking Tyranids and going against me, I would pick flamers real quick. But in your orc strategy, like for our game when we played against orcs against Imperial Ostra Militarum, I picked a lot of flamers for the guard squads, but for the hellhounds I picked actually Bane Wolves.
Yeah.
And that's the big difference. But Bane Wolves still only do the same damage the flamers do. Doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is after they hit, and that's if they hit.
Uh-huh.
The same goes for flamers. It's not after they hit, it's if they hit. Flamethrowers shouldn't have an if they hit.
What are you talking about? They're auto hit.
They're auto hit, but for damages, the stuff's roll.
No, that's for attacks. Still the same damage per attack.
That's for attacks, but you only hit up to 6 of your units. So let's say you have like a 20-man squad bearing down on me. I can only damage 6 of them.
Yeah, with that one guy. Then the rest of the squad uses their guns.
But still, that doesn't matter because back in 7th edition, I could use a flamer to...
enemy unit. It's bullshit. One guy should not have that ability.
Why not? They're so weak as it is. They literally have almost nothing. There's no armor skill.
Calm down, everybody.
You don't need AP to go against them. You really don't need anything.
What are you talking
and especially
about?
In melee. Especially in melee, you don't need anything to go against them.
Well,
and so they needed the flamers. They needed the flamers to be the only thing they had against melee infantry.
You have Bulgrins.
Bulgrins cost too much. Think about it.
God, you keep going on about that. That just because
okay,
they cost a lot doesn't
Robbie,
change that they're
Robbie, I dare you. I dare you to build an army and include Bulgrins in it instead of flamers. Every time you want to put a flamer somewhere, I want you to build a Bulgrin. And I want you to fight me.
Can we put this on pay-per-view?
Yes, we can put this on everything view.
Good, let's call up Vince McMahon. Let's make this happen.
Let's
we're doing it.
Show, guys.
We're doing it. Nope, we're doing it.
Now?
Not now, because we're actually finishing up. So, back to the programming that we,
back to the story.
It's okay. This is just going to be quick. Can I stable my Allosaurus at a typical inn?
That was just nerd rage. We're good.
Oh, I know. That's just nerd rage. We do that.
Okay. So, how do DMs deal with endless customization that Dungeons and Dragons provides their players, and still keep the world somewhat believable?
Hentai.
Yeah, because this guy's like, can I stable my Allosaurus at a typical inn? And I'm like, because the thing about D&D is it's not a typical fantasy realm. They're dinosaurs and shit, and all of the Norse gods exist, and they exist, and the first editions, it was
exists.
It was really crazy in first edition because everything existed.
Mm-hmm.
But this guy asks the question: how do you handle weird PCs interacting with normal townsfolk?
I suggest pitchforks and torches.
Get a PC.
Yeah, that's just some funny shit there. Because, yeah, people often forget that fantasy worlds are supposed to be living and breathing places, and they kind of notice when you bring crazy shit into town. And, I mean, really, that's the advice. Is just think about the norms and rules that the people have in this village, and do they mind if a carnivorous dinosaur is brought in and stabled at the local inn? Probably. It's not high on their list. Unless you're on Dino Island. Why do they not have a rule against Allosauruses in town at Dino Island?
It's a mod you didn't download.
Need the DLC.
It's DLC!
It's DLC! So that's our show. Thank you, none of you, for watching, and thank you, General, for being with us.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, that is the wrong button.
There's nobody really watching.